Okay, so we've talked about the biblical, like the Genesis 3:15, how it really does open up the scriptures for people that don't understand the Nephilim and the seed war and that sort of thing. It really does it opens up the scripture. At least it did for me a couple years ago when I first
Sure.
discovered this.
It's in my opinion, it's the gateway to the entire Bible. If we don't understand Genesis 3:15, we don't understand what happens in Genesis 6, Sodom and Gomorrah, the conquest of Canaan. People like Richard Dawkins, with all due respect to him, he'll use that. I've heard him say it, talking about Jericho and the Battle of Jericho. How can you
Yep.
possibly love a God like this who favors one tribe over another? And he's right. I totally agree with him. If I didn't know about the Nephilim and about the seed war, I would say the same thing. Richard, you're right on. But now that I know, because when I got there 44 years ago, I almost threw the Bible against the wall. Because I said, the God of the Old Testament is some maniacal, capricious, homicidal, maniacal, bloodthirsty God. He's not that at
Yep.
all. What we're looking at is the seed war. And isn't it interesting that when they go in, and there's a tablet that was recently discovered a couple years back in Israel. They call it the curse tablet. It was found underneath Joshua's altar. So when they excavated Joshua's altar near Ai, where it's the gateway to the promised land, it's the gateway to the promised land, okay? And they excavated it, and they took all the dirt and put it in a pile in another place. So these archaeologists said, well, let's go and wet sand it. We'll wet sift it. So they wet sifted. In other words, they're watering everything down to see what's there, right? And they find this little lead tablet. It's about this big, not that big. It's dinky. And with the computers and the equipment that they have, they're able to go in and see it. It says this: cursed, 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 cursed of Yahweh, you will die cursed, 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 cursed. Now, I've had discussions about this, and those, biblical scholars, well, we don't think it's to the inhabitants of the land. We think it's the cursing is to the tribes of Israel. I'm saying, no, it's not. In my opinion, and I realize I'm completely, utterly jaded on this because of my work on the Nephilim. That
Hmm.
altar is set up because they're going into the promised land. Who is in the promised land? It's the culmination of Genesis 3:15. It's the culmination of the seed war. The Nephilim tribes are there. That's who's there. And the
Yep.
12 tribes are there. So you got the offspring of the dragon, but you've got the offspring of the woman. And out of one of those 12 tribes, Messiah is going to come, but we don't know who yet. We don't know. That's why Pharaoh, tries to kill the firstborn, try to kill the seed. They're always. What do you think Herod does? The dragon's yakking in his ear, kill them all. He's always trying to kill the seed. Once the dragon figures out where the seed's going to come from, Abraham, that's when all the craziness starts. So when they go into the promised land, that cursed tablet, in my opinion, is to the Nephilim tribes that are there. Cursed, 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 cursed of Yahweh, you will die cursed, 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 cursed. That's not to the children of Israel. I'm sorry. Some people go,
Yeah.
well, the book of blessings and the book of curses, and if you do this, you'll be blessed. And if not, I get that. This is something different. This is like incredibly severe with not a shred of grace and mercy. And because of its location, Joshua's altar and it's the first time it's in Proto Canaanite. It's the first time we see the name Yahweh written. It's
Yep.
the first time we see it written. So it changes everything. Absolutely changes everything. Cursed, 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 you will die. You will cursed, 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 cursed of Yahweh, you will die cursed, 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 cursed. And it's right there at the gateway to the promised land. Right there to the gateway to the promised land. And the seed war erupts, and there it is. The children of Israel, and this is what Dawkins doesn't get. These entities which are in the Levant, in the promised land, are not human. They are soulless. They have no soul, guaranteed no soul. And now when we go, the Lord tells us, Jesus tells us, be like the days of Noah when I return. Here we are. We are now back in the days of Noah. Commingling of the seed, Daniel 2:43. Their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not cleave. Got this from Jim Williamson in his book. The word cleave is what we get for a marriage contract. A man will leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. We don't get that. No marriage. And this is exactly what's happening with the breeding program. But if we don't understand Genesis 3:15, when we get to Daniel 2:43, we don't understand. When Jesus warns us to be like the days of Noah, unless we understand Genesis 3:15, we have no idea what he's talking about.